everybody, so today I wanted to do a bases and primers video. I have done this in the past, but I wanted to get some more accurate information out to you guys and more up-to-date information. So I'm going to start off mainly just by explaining what primers are, since that's what you really hear about when you go into a makeup cosmetic counter or a makeup store and you ask, how can you make your eyeshadows last longer? Now, if you don't know what creasing is, that's basically what a primer is for. It's to prevent creasing. Now, if you have never had creasing, it's probably because you have dry to normal lids. If you have normal to oily lids, you will need to use a primer, especially if you're going to be using a creamy base underneath, but I'll get into that in a minute. Now, what creasing is after you've applied your shadow, you'll notice that it looks fine for the first couple hours. Now, after about 2 to 3 hours, especially if you have oily lids, you will notice that it collects in the crease of your eye. Now, what that is just the oils moving the product and making them collect just in this fold of your lid. Now, I personally find that I don't have a super big issue with creasing unless I use a creamy base. Now, if you are dry to normal lid, you may not need to, even if you're using a creamy base, but you may have to, because I find that creamy bases are more prone to creasing even if there's no oil there to begin with. So primers that I would recommend if you don't have any issues with discoloration on your lids, any veining, anything like that, if you are just wanting a clear primer that would just, extend the wear of your shadow, you don't need to worry about any darkness on your lid. Things like the Urban Decay Primer Potion and this, which is the Too Faced Shadow Insurance that come in clear formulas, really do work. A drugstore version of this is the e.l.f. Eyelid Primer. I know L'Oreal has one. These work really good because they are clear, so they don't add any color, and they're not as heavy as ones that do have color. Now, you can get ones like Urban Decay has ones that are in champagne formulas. This one is Greed, which is a golden tone. You can get these if you are somebody who wants a little bit of shimmer, or if you want a little bit of added color to your lids. So they don't just color correct, they add a bit of shimmer to your lids. Then you can also get ones such as the Painterly Paint Pot by MAC, which help extend the wear of your shadows, but they do color correct, but in a matte formula. So I do like these if you are somebody who you do like to do shimmer, but you don't like it all the time or all over your lid, because a primer really should go all over your lid, since you really want to prevent the creasing in the crease of your eye. If you only are applying it to the lid or the lash line, or even just the brow bone, if you're somebody who conceals around your brow, it's not really going to help with creasing. You really need to apply it all over your lid to prevent the creasing. So these work great if you have discoloration like me, but if you are going to be using a separate base anyway, you might want to try out one of these. So again, you can get different ones. There are different ones for different skin tones, such as Groundwork for deeper skin tones. You can get them at drugstores as well, such as the Maybelline Color Tattoos, I know are great. As far as bases go, they are creamy products that help intensify the actual intensity of your shadow. Now, this is one that I have already placed. I actually use, if I can find it, where did I put it? The NYX concealer in a jar in green, and I just applied that here, and then I used the e.l.f. Eyelid Primer right here, and the eyeshadow that I applied on top is the Turquoise Tempest by CoverGirl, and you can see that the base really does intensify the shadow. The primer does slightly, but not as much as the base, so I really recommend using a base if you have issues with pigmentation of your shadows. Now, there's so many that you can use. NYX is very popular for their jumbo pencils, which are really good bases, but these crease like mad, especially if you have oily lids. I recommend always using a primer if you're going to be using something like this. If you're using the Maybelline Color Tattoos, the colored ones, these actually have a built-in primer, so you don't need to use a primer underneath, but I still recommend doing something underneath because it does really help as far as, keeping that creamy base from moving throughout the day. There's so many that you can use. There's other ones that you can find at the drugstore. There's some from Wet n Wild. You can even just use standard eyeliners. Now, I have these that are from Hard Candy that are colored, but you can get if you're gonna do a navy blue smoky eye, I already have it swatched, but just apply this to your lid, blend it out, and that would work as a creamy base, and it can double up for a standard eyeliner as well. So you don't have to use something that's just targeted or marketed as a base. So that's pretty much it. That's all I really wanted to mention, because I was actually requested to do this, since I do use the NYX concealer in a jar in beige as my base for my eyeshadows. I do always go in with a separate primer. I normally use the e.l.f. Eyelid Primer, but I do always go in with this because it does help as far as intensity for my shadow. So I hope that was enough information. I hope that I kind of got as much as I could. If there's any other questions that you guys have, if you have any personal questions as far as, you know, something I didn't quite answer, or, you know, you find that maybe certain primers don't work for you, I will definitely have a list of primers and bases that I've tried that I personally find work good for me. And I will definitely try to get as much that I can, like, sample or things like that, and just get reviews out to you guys, because I know that this is a major investment as far as eyeshadow application, because they can get expensive, but they are really worth it if you are somebody who has problems with creasing or intensity of your shadows. So that's pretty much it. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I will always have my links for all my social networks in the bottom bar below, so you can always go check that out, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, everybody.